Okay. Okay. Um, Bum-da-da-dum. Welcome to justCARR podcast. It's been a minute. I know if you've been following the program, 2020 was really heavy. 2021 kind of settled down. Um, and so much has happened in the last year. I've been able to be connected with so many amazing people and like artists, entrepreneurs that I'm just like, wow, there is so much information out there that we just have to share it. We have to share it. So before I get too far, thank you for tuning in. If you've tuned in right now, my name is justCARR. I'm the owner of justCARR Creative Consulting, the founder of NoHo BNBE, a lot of stuff. I got a lot of different hats. But I'm also the owner or the facilitator of this podcast. And our purpose for 2022 specifically is to um, get insight and information from other creators, artists, entrepreneurs, especially as we're living in like this. It's not like a post-pandemic life because we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But 2020 was big. I think it changed the entire landscape for how we're moving forward. So 2022 is pretty stacked. I already have a couple guests locked out for the next couple of weeks. So we're already kind of cooking. And so it's my honor, actually. You'll hear me talk about how much I actually really like this guy. Um, if you are anywhere around street dance, if you're anywhere around what's happening in that community, if you know anything about Crump, and, you definitely know this guy. He is a friend to all, a real leader in the community, and also a really awesome person, somebody I've gotten to know really well over this last year through a lot of my travels. And I can tell you this guy is a stand-up gentleman. So I could talk all day about Beast. I really could. I probably could tell you some cool stuff, but I'll let Beast tell you all the stuff that he wants you to know. So without further ado, Beast, welcome to the podcast, bro.
Woo! Yes, I'm so I'm so hyped to be here.
Hey, bro, it's good to have you, man. Just I guess for background on, I've known Beast for some time. He's again very, very big in the dance scene in the community. I'll have him talk about who he is and his work. But me traveling back and forth to LA over last year to do BNBE stuff, I was staying with Beast and Kaio and Kim in the house, which is I think I need to do a whole episode on just like what I learned last year. But anyway, before I get too much into it, that's how I know Beast. And so I haven't seen Beast since December, which does not seem like much for
Yeah,
regular people, but we were seeing each other like once a month
yeah.
for at least like a week now. So now I'm like, where are my homies at? So I guess before I get too far, because I really will just talk about all the great stuff. Beast, do you want to introduce yourself, tell people who you are,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the work that you're doing,
Mhm.
and then we'll just probably dive into some questions and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, most people in like my communities or circle knows me as Beast. But my real name is Sherwin Salonga. I Um, I grew up in Carson, California, and moved around Carson and Long Beach. It wasn't until recently, like 2020, when I moved to NoHo. Yeah, I thought I was gonna pursue dance even more, and then everything shut down. So all the studios, I was like, yay, I live close to it. It's like was shutting down and stuff. Yeah, so obviously my main persona in art is dance for now. I do have goals for 2021, like to get into like acting, and I'm already doing like beat making now, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, so dancing is just my main like forte, and yeah, just been really lucky, blessed, all of those words, to be in a position I'm in to where like the light at the end of the tunnel but then it's just like more stuff even at the end of the tunnel. So it's
Yeah.
nice to be there, you know. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't get to the end of the tunnel, but there's still more to do at the end of the tunnel, and either if
Mm,
it's big or not. Um, yeah, so it's just real interesting to be making dance a career and having like a persona like me, even doing like this podcast. I always tell people I used to be like the shyest and the most quiet person, and for me to like talk hella comfortably is so different. But that's what the arts do, you know. It gave me a voice before my actual voice, so I was very loud, and I didn't even say anything in the sessions. I would just be there, kill off. They're like, "Where are you from?" And then a couple sentences, and I was just so shy. So yeah. Anyways, last thing about my intro is, yeah, I run Beast Camp. Um, or the official name is the Beast Camp, because I guess the or without the is important. So
it is.
the Beast Camp LLC. We run our own website. You know, we're building our YouTube to just have more content besides just like sessions and battles. Um, yeah, and it's just a place where we would want like education, community, and creativity to all be in one, and either if it's virtually or in person.
Mm,
So yeah, that
dang.
is my intro
That's
with
that
some
nigga
rants.
Beast. And he's not gonna brag on himself. So I'm gonna just give him like the really quickest, humble brag. Because I mean, again, this Beast he is one of those people. Um, Beast has been a part of a dance style called Crump. And again, I will drop links and stuff in the description for the episode. I didn't want to spend too much time on that today. I feel like there's so much about Beast and his impact in Crump specifically. So you should definitely do that research. But he is the the face, or at least right now, like one of the faces of Crump as it stands. There's a lot happening in the movement. I'm not taking anything away from anyone else. But what Beast has been able to do over I mean, not just this past year, but especially online classes, the way the sessions were moving, how everything has been documented, even you traveling with the team. And prior to that, I mean, the Beast Camp tournaments, I was going through and like watching a bunch of old footage. And there are like all of these big like names, you know, I was watching Bruiser versus Dread. And
Ooh.
I'm like, damn, like now I'm like a little bit more experienced in crime, so I can go back and I can like pick out these people in the room and the faces, and I'm like, oh wow, this has been something that has existed. So I just say that to say Beats has continually been providing space for artists and for Crump specifically to manifest as an art, and he's been giving people all over the country and out of the country an opportunity to connect with the art and to learn and to share. So Beast is somebody that you definitely should know. If you don't know, now you know. So, and like he said, he's doing a lot. There's an online platform, YouTube. We'll make sure we drop all those links. But there's so much good stuff happening right now in Crump that Beast is at the forefront of, and you'll see a lot of his little homies, which is a term in Crump that has to deal with the way that Crump groups are formed. They're called FAMs. But some of his little homies are not only some of the best Crumpers, but also are moving forward and like creating whole other things, infrastructures. So Beast is the guy. I just want y'all to know that he does have his stripes. He is qualified. So, but today we are not going to talk a lot about Crump. There's a lot that I know Beast can offer in terms of like history or knowledge. But today we're really going to talk about Beast and really get a hopefully a good snapshot of who Beast is and what he does and how he's able to continue to do the work that he's doing. So if you don't mind, bro, I would like to just start with a couple questions. I sent like a
Yes.
long list, so I like to get through
Yeah.
as many.
I reviewed them. I was like, whichever ones, it's gonna be a good
That's
time.
okay. Um, so I guess I would like to start with and you kind of already answered this, but how would you classify the work that you do? Or, someone is like, um, what do you like? What is it that you do? I know, obviously, like you said, you're making a way for yourself with dance, but
Mhm.
in my opinion, maybe it's also a little bit larger than that. So
Yeah.
I'm just interested in your thoughts on how you see your work.
Yeah. So I think it's for sure like community is one thing. Community is huge. And not one thing, like did I say one? Or like three things, like community, community, knowledge, and love, I guess.
Mm,
Um, and there's like two big factors of like why those things are so important to me
mhm,
because yeah, I grew up when I was like, I don't know, 11, 12, maybe. I was in a I was in a proactivist group, a Filipino one too. So I was in the meetings and whatnot with my older siblings. So I'm the youngest and I have three older siblings. And yeah, so they were in the meetings and whatnot about how to, create social change and social justice and all of that. And mind you, I was just like a kid, just following his siblings around. And one of the artists, his name is Bamboo. He's like a really popular underground rapper and a Filipino too. So yeah, I was like, he's so cool. His raps are so cool. And I'm in a meeting with this guy. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it didn't like click until later, maybe when I got into the position to like, hey, like we need help with the community thing or it just came out naturally, not naturally, but I guess it was just ready.
yeah.
I was being programmed. So
Mm,
yeah, so community is huge. And, obviously being in like a social justice group, knowledge, so at a very young age I got to know about like how my people was exploited and like
mhm,
you don't see like an Asian on TV unless they're like kind of made fun of, or like it was a light skinned Asian, it wasn't
mm,
like my skin tone. And then if it was, it's like they kind of played the doofus or I don't know if it was That's So Raven or like or one of the TV shows. I think it was Zach and Cody.
mm,
And then they had the Asian chick and she was like the dumb one,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I was just like, not, I don't like to say woke, but I was just aware, you know
Hmm.
I was just aware of my surroundings. And like I used to, yeah, the fire was really on about that. So it was interesting that Crump came into my life like around the same time. So already they were like coinciding together. And then
Mm,
yeah, the bigger my name was getting per se, the more I was like, hey, I could really do stuff for the community now. And like,
mm,
it wasn't like, oh, I finally get to get this car or like this recognition I wanted. It was like, okay, cool. If I break down this door of like a music video, let me see how I could get the community involved.
mm,
Um, yeah, and then with love, I mean, I feel like everyone just needs that. And yeah, I grew up in a faith based home. My mom is like a strong Catholic. So then we tried. It wasn't for me. but
mhm,
but I found my faith like through Christianity, and it was just
mhm,
more free and whatnot. And then my pastor that I'm with now, he graduated from a college that I graduated from. And it was just so different. I was like, dang, I thought everything was so like follow the rules and whatnot.
mm,
And it was just really based off of love, and yeah, so I think everyone just is searching that in their life anyways. um the how deep or shallow it is. So yeah,
yeah.
through all that, I try to somehow make it, which is my main forte, crop,
Okay.
and yeah, I always try to push the boundaries, like, okay, yes, we're gathering to session, but it's like, why not I really set time, like, hey guys, before I play the music, meet someone new,
Mhm,
and just those little things, like, yeah, help. And then, hey, like, ask this question, what's your favorite color? And
mhm,
you know um and then yeah, like how else can we provide like healing, knowledge,
Mm.
experience. And yeah, as a creative, I'm so lucky to be a creative in that space. So yeah, building a community isn't just like, I don't know, like a AA meeting.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, yeah, I
um
think in every community it could be like that. So yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, bro,
no,
but
you're good.
you really getting into it.
My bad or my
No,
good.
it's great. No, I need it. That's what I'm talking about. I did forget. We had this conversation before, but that you were involved in activism first. I think that
Hmm.
that's a really important note. We'll talk about optics and like kind of how you're viewed in a second, but I would imagine that from the outside, a lot of people probably look at you as like beast with obviously like the all of the things that comes with, but um, I think it is really important to note too that that activism is part of your life. In
Hmm.
activism plus faith plus like family, right? So here we're hitting on like the community, the knowledge, and the love. We're gonna keep coming back to those. I think those are gonna be really important.
Yeah.
I do want to ask. You said that while you were in that environment, you were being programmed,
Hmm.
which I'm hearing that you were receiving influences and being
Hmm.
primed and maybe being taught things that you didn't know you were being taught at the time.
Hmm.
Can you speak to any of those lessons that you learned
Yeah.
in like your early activism days, and maybe especially things that continue to play out in your work currently?
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I barely discovered this like I think a couple years ago. You know, like life moves so fast when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was always wondering like why like does it burn like in my soul to like to do community work. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's something that you can't really run away from. And
Yeah.
that's what my pastor said too. Like I remember when I was kind of like in the borderline, like I don't know if I should be a mechanic or like someone for the community, hella different, right? So then he said, like, so which one's my calling? Because you could have a calling in
Mm,
anything. And he said, well, your calling is the one that you can never run away from. So I was like,
mm,
dang. So yeah, like as much as I just want to be the dancer that just gets the gigs and whatnot, it's like it just bothers me like yo like you got to go back to the community.
mm,
So anyways, to answer your question, I remember my sister, my older sister, she was kind of like sad or like frustrated in this meeting, and then they were like, hey, like what's going on? She's like, well, I just want to do an event for the youth and stuff. So then we stopped the whole meeting and the leader was like, okay. So he erased the whiteboard and he just saw it. He's like, so what's your goal? And then she's like, oh, I want to do artists and blah blah blah. And then he was like, all right, we're gonna call it artist night. No, no, no. And like, how much
wow.
people are you expecting? Like, it's like, it don't gotta be big. Okay, so 30 to 40. That's our aim. And then it's like, where do you want this at? Like, oh, I like this little venue, whatever. Boom. So I was seeing, I think it meant a lot because it was my sister. So I was like, man,
Mm-hmm.
like, I always have her back. So yeah, but seeing someone just map it out, and we actually did that event like a month later, and it was like a
Mm-hmm.
dope event. It was like an open mic type of night. So just to see that, happening, and then just being so close to it, so that helped me a lot, like really plan without
Mm-hmm.
someone teaching me how to plan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then I saw it like really step by step. All right, we're gonna make flyers to boom, boom, boom. Let's get some featured
Sheesh.
artists to, and mind you, again, I'm like 11, 12, and
Damn. I was just about
yes,
to ask how old you were too.
yeah, because this was like before, like a little bit before high school. Yeah,
Wow.
so I didn't start dancing crump until like 13, 14. So
Mm,
that's like around the same time. But anyway, so yeah, yeah, so that's one example, just seeing from the whiteboard to the actual event, and then
mm,
just like that way of thinking, we used to have like a course or something within it. And one of the things the leader of it just dropped the pair of keys and just like, all right, like, what do you think about these keys? And we were like, what? And they're like, yeah, like, think about if it's metal, like, where did it come from? Like, who made it? And, what do they do? Who are they? Or like, where did they get the thing? Like, so they really challenged me to really think deep so quick, or like in such a young age. So, yeah, it's just a lot. I think my to wrap it up like small is just like experience, it's
Mhm.
like seeing it and being so close to it, and not really being like, hey, this is how you run an event, but just seeing it and being around it. It's true, like when people say like most of the work is just showing up,
Yeah.
and you don't really know what's being programmed in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah.
That's a fact. And I also will pull out one other little piece that I received. Uh, I think it's really meaningful the leader stop the meeting, like
Mhm.
in the midst of. Cause I know leadership is like we're gonna talk about leadership. I mean, we're in that track right now, but there's like there's a misconception, in my opinion. I do think it's a misconception that the leader has to be the one to make every single call, always has to be the person who is like in charge, has to keep everything in line. And whereas the leader is, I think, the person who can see
Mhm.
possibilities differently,
Mhm.
and who's willing to leverage their skills, their opportunity, their position, right? This person didn't have to stop the meeting. That could have
Right.
been a whole conversation that they had afterwards, right? And it may have still had a similar effect. But as a leader to say, okay, well, I'm recognizing that someone in my organization has an idea, and not only is an idea, but it's a point of stress. Like it's a point of contention. And so as the leader, I'm not only going to address it right away, but I'm going to empower this member of my organization to see something into fruition. I think that's really important too. So I know you said a lot of things. I hope somebody out there listening also caught that gem that sometimes as a leader you have to put yourself on the side
Yeah.
and simply address whatever the needs of your organization, your team are in that moment.
Mhm.
Uh, sheesh.
Yeah,
I
that's huge, man. Like, um, yeah, I go, just to piggyback off of that. I really admire like Kobe Bryant.
mhm,
I remember when I was learning about him, and then his leadership trait is like he got to know every teammate personally, so he
mhm,
knew what buttons to push if they needed that little push to like get into that animal instinct, or how to comfort them, and yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, as a leader, if you know like someone's off, like I'm kind of like that too. It depends, but yeah, if it's like a serious issue like that, or like what my sister wanted, and to like do like an event, and I think we were like talking about events and whatnot,
mhm,
but like it was just such a, yeah, it was like such a weird like direction, and my sister
mhm,
was like, no, we need this, type of thing.
mhm, mhm.
So yeah, it's just really important to always pay attention to like, yeah, your peoples, and
Mm,
to let them like really uh let them know that like you like know them,
yeah, yeah,
and it's important because one way could work for one person, and it could either not work or even like work against them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, there's some people in yeah, my own team that would be motivated by if I just tell them like, yo, you suck, you got to get better, and other people would just devastate them. Yeah.
um, Also, too, for the listeners, Beast also is a client that I worked with in the past, which is also pretty cool. Like me and
Mhm.
my homies, we do like leverage skills with each other. And if there's anything, any gem, it's like the oldest post on my Instagram. Like I archive my stuff all the time. I think I have like 9 posts right now, but I just can't find myself to delete this post from, I think it's 19 keys, but he's just talking about how important leveraging skills are in a lateral sense. Because a lot of people on the same level as you are going to work as hard as you. Someone who's like above you, who's
Mhm.
already kind of made it. We think we have to like shoot for that level. A lot of times those people don't connect with us on our level. So
Yeah.
I say that to say, because you're talking about teams. And last year, Beast, myself, Garrett, I think it was just the three of us, maybe. We had breakfast and we were talking about delegating. We were talking about creating roles for your team,
Hmm.
responsibility. Um, and at that time, I know that you had like an idea of
Hmm.
what you wanted that to look like. But I, at least from my position, it seems like the team has gotten a lot more functional.
Hmm.
Things seem to run a little bit like smoother. Again, just from my
Yep.
perspective, I try to
Yep.
see as much as I can. Um,
I
so
try to
could
show
you
as much as I can too.
you do that shit. You do that shit. Could you talk about I guess, and it doesn't have to be necessarily in the last year, but that's like a benchmark I can flag for myself.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what have you learned, or what are your current thoughts on um, delegating responsibilities?
Hmm.
How do you identify when you think someone is ready for a responsibility? How do you approach them with new tasks or
Mm.
new, I know it's kind of an abstract question, but
Nah.
we did touch on this almost a year ago now, and it seems like you have a better understanding of that stuff now. So do
Hmm.
you have any thoughts on delegating responsibility, teams?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, first of all, like y'all got to book carb for for that type of work because like one, just to talk about it. I mean, it may be kind of off topic, but like really support your homies,
Yeah.
um and there's so many reasons to, like, one, yeah, it's your homies, obviously. Two, you want them to eat and like be successful, as much as your pride and ego takes it, I guess. And that's
Yep.
where as far as it takes it, they'll work on that. But um but also, like, I think it was also fun, but it added fun because this is something that you're gonna hire someone to do anyways,
Hmm.
and that's a real job, and that's a real thing to get looked at, which is like how to plan out and have someone there to write it out. I think is hell important. So I took it seriously, even if he's the homie, me actually paying, whatever rate that he gave me, yeah, obviously make me take it serious, because I'm not gonna take waste my money
Hmm.
and then waste his time. And then, like, because he's the homie, yeah, we got to really talk, and he knows a lot of stuff I'm talking about. If it was just a professional stranger, like, yeah, I want to do this dance thing with a piano, and like I want to like include partner work, like in boxing and MMA, they'll be like, you know what I mean? And the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
hour is just me explaining like who I am. You know
yeah.
what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So yeah, anyways, book the homie. But yeah, it it helped a lot, as we transition from a street, I'm talking about like a street ass crew, to like we really adopt gang banging principles and morals into a dance crew. And then it's interesting that, like, we think, okay, it worked for the streets. We got kind of hood famous, and oh damn, we even got famous to do award shows and music
Hmm.
videos and tours. Okay, and then when it's starting to do our own responsibility, like business, and we think like, all right, let's keep being hood, and that's where a lot of things came to clash from my experience. A lot of the
Hmm.
hood people, just as or the homies that didn't break out of that mindset, I still got hella love for them, but it was such a punch in the face, like, yo, like, okay, money, and it really exposes what they want. Money, want to get fame, I want to
Hmm.
this, I want to, and Yeah, and I think all of those are possible because we are in the realm of art, and sadly, a lot of our resume deals with consistency. That's one, and
Mm,
two, how better we are than our competitor, as
hmm.
anything else, Apple, Samsung, all that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so we needed help to really manage this thing we call business. We just can't say it because it's something cool to say. Like now we're playing with big money and we're playing with people's money. For
Hmm.
us to pay people on the first every month for the artists that did their classes for us, that's something we can't play with. So we have to be on
Hmm.
it, and then there's so much potential with that. So we needed like an art team, we needed like a legislation team, we needed a care team, just for
Hmm.
people. Yeah, so those things really, it was like we were doing that naturally, but the deeper you get into like a business, like you
Hmm.
really have to start honing in like, hey, this is really your job, be confident in it, and we need you. So to answer your
Mm.
question too is like, you know, it's hard to tell people what to do because it's like, especially artists, like especially artists with their
Yeah.
own, and their own thing, because that's kind of like what Beast Camp is right now. It's like a lot of collectives of business owners as well. So we are
Yeah.
the alpha male of, like, we are a group of alpha males.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's hard, but yeah, you just have to encourage them. And that's how I did it. I just encouraged them, like, look, like, we need you, even if you think
Mm.
this job is small. But we really need you. And like, hey, I know you're busy with everything, but you only have to do one job. Like, so
Yeah.
that's something like good to do too, or like to help me like really get them. But yeah, I think
Hmm.
they understood. It's just interesting. Like I said, as artists, we have a lot of like, we're so set on patterns as artists, but also we're very like egotistical. So when it comes to like, oh, I have a lower role, like I'm not gonna do that,
Mm.
or like I'm finally at a place where I don't have to be a leader. Like I could just
Hmm.
be here to escape from my leadership in there. But then it's
Hmm.
like, oh dang, now I have responsibility here. So it's
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Encouragement is huge.
Um, I'm just taking notes, man.
Ah, you
I
good.
feel like you're giving them the business. Um, what is like your like your favorite role or position maybe that's emerged over the last since you've been like creating these new responsibilities for people,
Hmm.
something maybe you didn't expect to do well, or a place that you saw somebody grow a lot,
Hmm.
whatever your opinion, what has been like your favorite role or responsibility that's come out of this new like system that you're building.
Hmm. Um, I think it's always like a recycling
Mm,
experience, and it's humbling, which is like you're not gonna be in the spotlight all the time.
mm,
And to really help people get to a spotlight, even if it's like being, the battle fiend, you know what I'm saying, like the person that's just battling all the time, or the person that the person, well, we know who we talking about now.
yeah, we do.
The or yeah, someone that's taking care of time, or even the money.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rev, he's like my business partner right now, and yeah, it's huge, and it's huge to share a huge percentage and have him, get paid as well for doing hella work for me.
Yeah.
And yes, it's kind of hard to say like who's more important, and that's
Mm,
where, like, again, being from the hood, I used to be so petty to be like, but I'm the one teaching the classes, and like, like it's just
yeah.
and then if we're talking about percentage, like, well, how much are you getting paid for doing like literally, everything
Mm-hmm.
besides me teaching and dancing, but
Yeah.
you're uploading, editing,
Yeah. Yeah.
capturing, so yeah, again, being from the hood, there are still moments where I'm like, yo, you're just sitting down. Like I had to learn, for 10 years plus about this dance to even be able to do it this easy. And,
Yeah.
that's the real thing, about it. So yeah. So it's like I said, it's always recycling because I'm still aiming to evolve in my craft
Mm,
and in my accomplishments to where it gives me more reasons to be like, well, I'm worth this more, or
mm,
I think I should, this, and you know, um, to always go back and grab people that wants to experience this dance fully and trust my teaching and then get them to be the star. And the
yep.
scary part is like, what if they're really more better looking, better, attractive, like can book more jobs that even I couldn't book? I'd be like, dang, like, am I ready for that? And of course,
That's that
and
shit.
yeah, so especially trying to be more like vocal and uh like braver about it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very like humbling.
I will say that I do like you said that we just get them to a spotlight, like a spotlight, any
Hmm.
spotlight.
Hmm.
I think that's really meaningful too. There's that expression. There's like there are no small jobs, and that's not something I realized until I started programming at like a little bit of a larger scale. Because in my head, I was like, of course, there's like small jobs. Like there's my job, and then there's
Hmm.
you who takes out the trash. Like I don't in my optics, those are both
Right.
those held different meanings. But I think the idea of like a spotlight, I really like that. Like everyone can have an opportunity to shine.
Hmm.
It might not be for the same amount of time. It may not be like in the same position. When you said spotlight, I'm thinking about like literally on a stage. So you may
Hmm.
not be center stage. You might be like downstage left, and you get the
Hmm.
spotlight for like those 2 seconds, as opposed to maybe somebody else who's gets it for like 10 seconds. I don't know. But it all still counts at the end of the day, right? Like,
Right.
and not to give away all you guys' business, but I do have the stories. One of my favorite moments was, I think it was this last month I was there, maybe it was a month before, but you guys had like a bunch of footage that you were going through. And I remember Rev was talking to Kaio about what footage Kaio was going to edit and get up and when he was going to get it up. And Rev was like, well, I'll do this at this time because we have this other thing coming up and it has to line up with these things.
Hmm.
And my nerd brain is listening to this, just like geeking out. Um, because I love Kyle. He's like really like he has a special place in my heart that no one else will
Hmm.
ever understand.
Hmm.
But to see him being able to use all these different skills and things. Last we talked, he's like, oh yeah, I figured out like the printing on like shirts. So soon I'm gonna be
Hmm.
like helping the, do some, and I'm just, and I'm like, that's the magic of seeing an opportunity and also knowing that you can't do it all yourself,
Hmm.
because somebody like Rev is gonna get mentioned a lot, because Rev is the GOAT. If you guys don't know who Rev the Servant is, you can go back and watch the real talk back from 2019. We had Rev the Servant on, and he was talking about all the shit. So Rev has been that guy, and now we see people like Kyle, we already mentioned, he's coming in, he's like emerging in different ways. Even at the last session, Kim, who's very close to my heart as well, at last, she ran the door and made sure that people were getting in and had
Hmm.
like your mom there helping and stuff. And I think
Hmm.
that that's just that's an indication of like the success of your system. Um, which is another reason. I mean, obviously you're the homie, but to have you on the podcast because you have a very successful system. You have
Hmm.
like an understanding of what needs to happen and people are in those places. So um from the outside, bro, yeah, it seems like you
Yeah.
guys are figuring it out, definitely.
Oh yeah. That's the key word, figuring. Like
Yeah, because
it's
there's no way.
woo-wee. Yeah.
Can I ask you just like I guess it's just like a personal, not a personal, but like in a maybe like an opinion thing, but when you're looking to put somebody in a role, you're looking to delegate responsibility out. Do you put more stock in, or do you value more aptitude? So the actual ability, obviously, to be able to do something like a technical skill,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody's passion. So if they're like, yo, like I don't, I don't edit, like that's not my thing, but I'm learning. It's something I love to do. I spend my time doing it. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
don't have, all the years. If you had like, you had to decide. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it's not that black and white, but
Right. Right.
between like aptitude and between like skill level and passion, which one do you think carries more weight?
Oh, yeah, I think passion for sure. Yeah, as you said, like, you could learn the skill, even if
Mm-hmm.
you're really skillful, but if you're not passionate about it, but yeah, passion for sure,
Oh,
because
thanks.
oh, now you
House
get
phones, like nobody
nah, I
has
was
them.
like, dang. I didn't know if that was like an app. That's how my brain. I said that's a cool ringtone.
No, it's my mom's house phone. For sure. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think passion is important. And then you can, just like you said, you can always scale and teach someone skills. So
Mm-hmm.
cool. Let's see. I'm just checking our time. We're doing pretty good. There are a couple different points I do want to hit too. So we're kind of like moving in that direction. I'm going to speed us there a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were speaking about like the team, and how, sometimes you got to look at it and say, well, okay, well, I can't do everything, especially from your level of responsibility. Like, I'm very sure you probably could figure out how to edit, cut,
Mm-hmm.
upload things onto the YouTube, but that would take away time from, like, your planning and your thought process that it would take to actually run the business. So
Mm-hmm.
um this is I mean, it's in terms of like your business, or maybe even just like your life. What are some areas, or what are some things that you like refuse to compromise on? Because I mean, again, sometimes, maybe just to do the work faster, you could
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice quality, or
Right.
you could do everything you're on your own, right? But you'll be sacrificing, like, um, in my opinion, optimization. I think you need other opinions and things. So
Yeah.
when it's time for you to do business, or when it's time for you to like make a decision, what are your deal breakers? What are things that are priority in your life or in your
Yeah.
business? And how do those things maybe kind of play out?
Um, for sure is like authenticity.
Mm,
Yeah. It's
sheesh.
always like, I don't know, it's especially, yeah, in the world of business and quick, like decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always one where it's like, if I have an idea to do for Crump or even for my fam, there has to be like even not a deep meaning, but I guess a deep meaning why. It's not like, yeah, let's do this, so we could get more views on YouTube. Like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal, but then it's like, we want to be seen authentic. We just don't want to be seen,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
seen
yeah,
and
yeah.
forgotten. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
authenticity for sure.
Yeah. I Yep, and I agree. And I think, if somebody had to give, like, if I was like making a list about the Beast Camp, I think that would be one of the things. And I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna drop the links. At least go and look at like some of the YouTube stuff. I mean, there's like podcast information. I'm telling you, it's the authenticity is real. And that's one of the reasons I hang out with you guys. Like, I mean, obviously you guys are also like the best. But as a as somebody who loves what I do, like dance, who like
Mhm.
loves Crump, it is important for me to be in a space where I know other people are there for
Yeah.
Crump, which is more than dance. Like,
Yeah.
it is more than it is more than that. So
Right.
I think authenticity is a good one. Um, this is, I guess, more of like a maybe like more of a personal question, but how do you? Obviously, you're the man, right? Like it's kind of
Hmm.
it's tough to escape that. So how do you how do you feel about the amount of access people get to you
Oh
or get to
yeah.
have, um, and um, and we've kind of talked about this on like a one-on-one.
Yeah.
But how do you how do you deal with being beast? Like
Yeah.
when we know, you know, like when you said earlier, like, yeah, I used to be like the shy person. Like even though now I can see that that's changed. I can still see some of those moments where you're just like, I just want to like sink
Yeah.
away and have like not people necessarily see me, but the role is that you are like the leader of this organization, that you are the face. And with the amount of titles and things you have under your belt as well, there's the
Hmm.
optics coming in that way. So
Hmm.
um, I guess it's a two-part question is how do you feel like you're perceived in the world,
Hmm.
and then how do you deal with the amount of access that people kind of have to you on a regular basis?
Ooh. um Shoot. Yeah, I think I'm seen like heavily on my art. And
Mhm.
I recently watched like a J. Cole interview with the dude, the dude.
Yeah, bro, I'm getting
But
my way
he
through that one.
yeah, but he said something dope at the end where it's like they were like, why should people care about J. Cole? And he's like, oh, you shouldn't, like I'm just a regular dude, but if it's the art that you support, I really appreciate
Mhm.
that. So it's like the same because people will really attach your art to who they
Yeah.
perceive you as a person. And that could work in a good way or even in a bad way because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people. And I used to be, but I'm not that bad anymore, but I'm still working through it. Is like, I had my traumas and I had like my dark days and I was very toxic and a toxic leader,
Hmm.
with again because we were from the hood. Like if you were late to a meeting, it wasn't like, are you okay? It was like, oh, like you think you're better than everyone who's here? Like, yeah,
Mm.
like, and it didn't matter. So yeah, um, I'm learning to just be okay with that. I think when I was younger, I was more about like I want to be liked by everyone and
Mm.
my art,
Yeah.
yay, like is that good push. Now it's like if you like my art or not, I understand that art is just is made for interpretation. So if you like
Mm.
that and if you don't, then that's on you, All I'm doing is just putting it out there and
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, when I was younger, I guess I was more in tune of like how people perceive me. Now it's like I'm still very open, but I'm not constantly opening the door for people
Mm.
to like it's like if you didn't ask, I'm not gonna say it. I used to feel like that too, like dang, like, for some reason I don't know, had to share everything. I do like
Yeah.
sharing stuff. I am pretty active on like my Instagram, and if I'm doing something like interesting, I'll share it, or even if it's some regular day stuff, or even how I'm feeling, like
Hmm.
I don't mind. So I'm still open. But I think I learned throughout the years that if people don't ask, I
Mm.
won't tell them, or I don't feel obligated to say. But then, yeah, if people will ask, I will, say it
Mm.
in yeah, as an open book. So I guess I took that term literally. I was an open book to where it's like I'm just gonna let the whole world know what's going on with me
Mm.
as best as I could. And there are some things that I think I shouldn't have. And it affected like some relationships, it
Mhm.
affected some mental health too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am. It's really good to hear you say that again. You're somebody I look up to, um, in just the world, but especially in the scene. And I know I am. I'm right now going through I mean, again, I just archived my Instagram again for like the third year in a row. So like
Mm,
anything that existed pretty much last year, I like try to think about highlights, like how do I want people to see me moving forward, kind of thing. But
mm,
I went through a phase where I was everything was open, everything was posted, everything was
mm,
and now I'm in the other side of it where I'm pulling back a lot, which is
mm,
another reason for these podcasts and stuff. Like, I don't want people to see my face necessarily, but I want them to know that I'm still here. Like, I'm still fighting for you.
yeah,
So it is really good to hear that it's not just me. And I
right.
imagine there's somebody else listening right now who's like, okay, cool. It's also not just me. Car's going
Mm,
through it. Beast is going through it.
yeah,
That is a part of it. Like, there's there is this culture of like put it all out, share,
yeah,
be vulnerable. Um, but I do encourage, and it seems like Beast is encouraging the same thing, to find your personal boundaries that make
mm-hmm,
you feel safe and that make you feel understood, and also give you the space to like navigate all of those nuanced things. Like what the unfortunate circumstance of like being great is the pressure that comes along with being
yeah,
great, and so that does take a toll on you. It does require things of you, and especially if you're in a leadership role, you're making
yeah,
decisions for other people, um, and you're making decisions not only for other people immediately, Rev, Kyle, Brandon, people in like the camp, but you make decisions that are affecting anyone that interacts with your online platform, your YouTube. Like, I can't even imagine, bro. So,
yeah. It's something you just learn and just adapt to. Yeah, I think before when I was younger and had that like stardom thing, like, oh shoot, like people care now. Before I used to
mm-hmm.
be like, oh, people don't care. And then now that they care, it's like, oh hell yeah. And now
Yeah.
it's like, all right, like, yeah, some people's opinions. And I think my biggest lesson is like their words were more louder in my consciousness than my own words,
Mm,
you know. So I was like stressing out and creating a lot of like scenarios off of other people's like what you said, expectations and whatnot. And
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Sheesh.
even close friends or at the time and stuff. And uh yeah, had their opinions. And it's just hard. It's hard because people get used to judging
Yeah.
your artistry, which
Yeah.
is part of it. But then again, they link it to you. So this
Mm,
is what I think I even expressed to you and some of the homies. Is like that's why I took a step back, because whatever happened in my life and the like in Tadai's life and Miho's life is a part of the dance culture now, which is
mm-hmm.
very crazy. Like my personal life is starting to become like in the history books of a culture. Like I
Yeah.
don't want that. I want like yes, I want my art, but I don't want like people like yeah, like so and so and broke up with this person. And I was like dang. And
And now it's
yeah,
this whole thing.
it's a whole
Yeah.
thing. And it's like that dictates if they even want to like support your art because of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
those things too. So it's like yeah, it's a lot.
Damn. Um, and you kind of touched on it. I think it seems when you were speaking about like the other voices being louder than your own thoughts, sometimes I know you just mentioned that one of the ways that you dealt with that was by like stepping back
Mhm.
and creating space in between like what you're putting out in like your actual life. um were there any other techniques or like or tricks or habits that
Mhm.
helped you minimize that outside voice and like to
Mm.
start to focus more in on your own voice?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's when I was first experiencing like heavy anxiety.
Mm,
Like I was getting random little headaches. I was so sensitive to light. I
mm-hmm,
had like I couldn't believe like I was in my own body, and
mm-hmm,
then my vision felt like a movie theater vision, tunnel vision,
mm,
like And yeah, my girlfriend at the time, I was like, I don't know what's happening. I always feel like my heart's racing,
Mm,
so um yeah, so I really dove into like meditation, and journaling. I want to talk about
mm,
meditation, but journaling was huge because of the artist way. The
yeah.
book, the artist way. The first chapter, she straight up just talk about morning pages. Wake up, write your thoughts down, and she broke it down and then why it was beneficial as an artist.
Hmm.
So, as an artist, you need a clear conscious. So when we're trying to create and I think of a certain move and that conscious, oh, it sucks. And you're like, okay, it
Mm,
does. So to write it out is, it needs to be exercised because your brain is trying to make sense of things, but then there's a part of your brain that wants to just explore and not make sense of things. And that's the
yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we try to structure it. So yeah, journaling. Um, a lot of breathing techniques, and then even changing my diet. So I was like vegan, pescatarian, and whatnot. But yeah, I just want to say because yeah, with meditation, like I said, I grew up in a faith-based home. So when I
Hmm.
was learning meditation, I learned the way of like kind of repeating mantras, and
Hmm.
I think they were kind of a little bit harsh on like, yeah, traditional meditation is that like you just empty out your mind and like
Yeah.
you should be gaining and like repeating words or scripture or whatever. That's real meditation.
Mm,
So that was a big block to kind of get over. And then once I found the benefits of being mindful and then learning that meditation leads to mindfulness,
yeah.
and then also could lead to yeah presence of the higher
Mm,
being and whatnot. So yeah, it's those daily things that are free besides like a journal and a pen
hmm.
that you can really heal yourself from
Mm,
breathing, letting your thoughts going by and focusing on your breath. And yeah, even
yeah.
cold showers has helped me out
Hmm.
tremendously. So yeah.
Um, I I know for me right now too, one of the things I'm like actively working on is letting my thoughts go and
Mm-hmm,
reconnecting with my breath or reconnecting with like a sound or an experience in my immediate environment.
mm-hmm.
Because I am that for all of like the really good thinking that I do, I also get stuck in that loop of like, that the
Yeah,
critical thinking or
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to over plan. So
Mm-hmm.
um I'd also like, you said two things, daily and free.
Yeah.
It can be very free for you, friends. There are apps, there's YouTube, Instagram pages, like
Oh,
people want to guide
I
you
use
in
all of
like better
them. Yeah.
all
I
of it.
I use Headspace app even till today, Again, there's so many heavy opinions on it, but like Joe Rogan and some dude he was with was saying like, yeah, like that's weird to like need an app to meditate. Just sit there and focus on your breath. But some days, it's hard. Some days you
Yeah.
need to be guided. And some
Yeah.
yeah. So that YouTube, I miss on yoga or like stretching at
Hmm.
least. I watched a documentary of how like yeah, stretching, and even I read a book called The Body Keeps Score that
Hmm.
you really store trauma physically, and that's why sometimes you have muscle knots. And most
Hmm.
of the time we think it's because we worked out too hard or whatever, but sometimes like that's stress,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you need to let that go. So that's free as well. And I use YouTube. I did one before the podcast, um, a 10-minute one too. I'm very minimalistic as of right
Hmm.
now. So whatever's quick, easy, free. And think about it, you don't have to like pay for medication.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
real. Try that medicine first,
Yeah.
and then you'll see that so much can be healed from that.
I
Yeah.
agree. And I also do just want to say again that it's whatever works for you
Mm-hmm.
in that moment at that time too. It's like yeah, maybe for Joe Rogan, it's weird for someone to have to use a meditation app, and that would be his truth.
Yeah,
But that would just be Joe Rogan's truth. So
right.
if you're listening out there and you're like, damn, I was gonna try Headspace, but Joe Rogan said no. Fuck
Right.
Joe Rogan. Like,
No, that
you got to make it.
there was a real time I stopped and I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Because of again a big influence, we look up to him,
Hmm.
and I get it, and it is a valid point that like I think like what you said, some days my mental is clear, or some days I need that, and
Yeah.
some days I really need help, like it's
Yeah.
really bad to just once in a while someone say focusing on your breath, or like a bell for you
Hmm.
to remind, because the thoughts, the stories, you're lost. Yeah. And then 20 minutes pass by and you're like, yo, I just needed someone to say breathe.
Yo,
We should make our own app. Breathe.
breathe.
Okay,
For
stop
real,
thinking about
bro.
that story. You need to breathe. Yeah.
And bro, and you just said it too. It'd be like 20 minutes later. I find myself doing it a lot in the shower. I'll
Mm-hmm.
like I'll get in the shower, whatever I'm doing, I'm getting clean, and then I'm getting out the shower and I'm like, at what point did I shower? Like I know
Right.
that I did the thing,
Yep.
but I was somewhere else
Yeah.
for the whole 15 or 20 minutes that I'm in that space. So
Yep.
um whatever you need, guys, day to day is you got to get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm checking our time. We're gonna have to wrap it here soon, but I do want to ask
Yeah.
um a couple. Let's just do. Let's just do. We'll do maybe two, and then we'll just kind of wrap with some other stuff.
Okay.
This is it's kind of like maybe just this is more of an entrepreneurial question. It's a little bit more speculative, but in your opinion, what are some indicators or signs that an industry is in need of change or is in need of something new?
Mm,
I think, again, I think what you've been able to do, especially with the online class platform, we saw
mm-hmm.
a lot of people try to do that over the last couple of years, and not saying anything about, there's a lot of other really amazing platforms that still exist and that are offering value and that
Mm-hmm.
have a very like consistent user base. But what you guys are able to do with the online classes and the intermediate programs, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have videos on my iPad that I still go back and I watch and I share and I get in the lab with people and we do these things together. So I think that if we
Yeah.
could have tracked that moment, we would have seen like a shift in the climate. So I don't know if you had an indication at that time when you guys started making that content of like, I
Mm-hmm.
know something needs to change. So was there an indication for you that this A may be a game changer?
Mm-hmm.
And B, did you see any signs in your immediate environment that told you, oh yeah, it's time to do something different?
Yeah. I mean, it was obvious because of the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely that.
Um, yeah, that we were craving community,
Mm,
we were craving knowledge as well. Um, but yeah, it always works with me first. So the
mm,
reason why like I believe that these online classes will work, that I will produce, is because it worked on me. Like I've been a member of Steezy. They're a company that's like the the
yeah,
god of dance online classes. They have
big
every
facts.
style, crazy, features. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You could even loop a part of the class, you could slow it down, you could even turn on your freaking webcam if you're using on a laptop, and it's
Mm,
like you're there, or you have a mirror.
mm,
So anyways, yeah, it worked for me. And I remember taking Boogie Frantics class, and he said, yeah, this game is called catch up, to where I would do one thing for two counts and then my assistants, but you two will just follow in the next two counts. So one and two, and then follow. And I said, this is so cool, and it's like what J. Cole said in the interview that I just mentioned. His greatest advice, and I'm gonna use this for a promo tool, but his greatest advice was rap with your favorite rappers. like
Mhm.
verbatim, and it pushes you like if Busta Rhymes, like, dang, so I gotta, you know, look at me now. That if I have to rap with him, but that it's teaching you cadence, it's like a follow along, you know, it's
Yeah,
like what
yeah,
we
yeah.
do with dance, and it's like, hey, I'm dancing just like Boogie Frantic at this moment, who is like, you know, one of the OGs in poppin' and a
Facts.
legend, you know. So yeah, like that is a big benefit of, you know, for that class is like, hey, you get to really dance like me or
Mhm.
Todd Eyes or whatnot. And then yeah, when J. Cole said it would rap, and that was his biggest advice, is that's what I'm saying. It's something I wish I had growing up, but we did in a
Mm.
very ghetto way. We used to rewind footage and just be like, okay, he did it like this. And you
Yep,
know, like
yep.
I
I
used to
remember those
take
days.
right. I used to take Todd Eyes' all moves, Crush, Solo. We used to go, and then it was the little details. Everyone, of course, knew like the big moves or whatever, but it was those little details. Like, okay, like, you know, he like turned his wrist to his cheek and like, you know, went to the other side, and then we watched it. So yeah,
Mhm.
um, yeah. So it worked for me basically,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah, I think for your other question about like now, I think it's just a universal question. I think people just need to learn how to socialize. I think people just need to learn how to be in a community again. I
Mhm.
think we are so isolated and forgot how to
Yeah.
socialize. Because I ain't gonna lie, when the world first opened up, I was like, "Whoa!" Like people, you know, and now that it feels like everyone's playing catch up, you know.
Yeah, it
So
does
it's
feel like
like
that.
if we're playing catch up because 2 years of our lives were taken away and whatnot, imagine everyone trying to play catch up, and then like it's like a
Yeah.
faster race than what it was before. We're like, yeah,
Mm.
everyone's gonna come up. So I think we all need to remind ourselves like, hey, we need each other. Your audience, you know, let's exchange audience. And I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest currency, because we're so protective of our audience that like
Mm.
don't look at their program, you know, don't look at their program just yet,
Ooh.
you know. But that's one
Audience
of
is
the
the biggest
things,
currency.
yeah, that's one of the things I learned from my homie that was teaching me about business, was that like, yeah, if you have a guest teacher on your spot, you also have to look at their audience. It's like, oh, is gonna look at your platform, you know, and
Mhm.
that's what you're really exchanging. That's why he's like, pay them and whatnot, but the biggest currency that you're getting, if you're paying 5 global teachers, like you're gonna get, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of eyes on your platform, you know, and then that's when you come out with the ads, that's when you come out with
Mhm.
this. So but you could do it for them, you know, like, hey, my audience will
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
this. And same thing, like even with this podcast, you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people that want to hear my voice is gonna tune into this episode, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Damn.
we need to, yeah, be a community.
And I was actually just about to say that and I think that that's like a really important point. We talked about Steezy, which is one of the biggest. Shout out to Steezy for really actually. Steezy was putting out tutorials before niggas even knew they wanted tutorials.
Hmm.
So to that point, I will say to piggyback off what Beast was saying, is just trust your product.
Hmm.
Trust that what you're doing is meaningful. I'm sure Steezy didn't get together and like, let's just blow the roof off. They're like, people
Hmm.
need courses, people need to have access if they can't make it to class. And they kept doing that. And so much so that they provided you with a valuable example or blueprint for you to go and now create something that's what we call niche or like
Yeah.
specialized, right? But I don't want anyone to skip over the fact that this isn't Beast didn't reinvent the wheel, and that we don't need
Mm.
to be in such a rush to reinvent the wheel or the rush to be like the best. Even to your point about giving ourselves time to recover and to like deal with, especially the last couple of years, but any trauma, any thoughts, any doubts, there is no rush. And if you have something authentic, authenticity, okay, if you have something authentic to offer, that offering will connect in some way. And I'm sure that, you know, you're very happy that you're at the space that you are. You guys have been able to scale, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
also sure that you get a lot of like DMs and texts and emails that nobody in the world sees, that
Right.
makes it like worth going to do that, like that next
Yeah.
class. So, and you also brought up community and knowledge again.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about taking care of people, we're talking about love, beast. So
Yeah.
I think that you really got that one figured out. Okay. I do want to wrap. I know that you have some other things happening today too. Thank
Hmm.
you for your time. But I would like to just, I guess, um, we're gonna skip the this or that because I kind of they're fun, but there's something else I actually want to hit more than that. Uh, so I guess before we like close, um, I what is something that you are obviously you don't have to give away all your like your gems and your game, but what is something that you have been contemplating or or thinking about or pondering maybe for like the year for 2022, something that maybe is just emerging in your brain or in your space, um, that you invite the listeners to also think about or to ponder or to um, chew on between now and the next time maybe they hear from you or they hear from me.
Hmm. Hmm.
I know that one wasn't on the list.
Nah, you good. So it's like you want me just to share like.
Yeah, like where's your head right now? I know you've been giving us a
Hmm.
lot of like answers. You've been answering questions and wrapping things very nicely, but what is there anything that's in your brain right now that maybe doesn't have such like a pretty bow on it, or you don't have the answer
Yeah.
for right now?
Yeah. I guess like tying my curiosities in. I
Mm,
could see like a fantasy, but it's not like a goal because it's like,
mm,
dang, like I have to get really good at this or, whatever.
hmm.
Which is probably works out because I said I wanted to talk about like me making music and art
Yeah.
or acting and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, obviously for me, like especially making music, like through FL and whatnot, is more
Hmm.
therapeutic. Like I try to make like 2-3 beats a day, and it's
Mm,
just a dope like release, a dope focus, and just a dope way to exercise my creativity, and then yeah, if I can be dope at it, that's cool. But I think with acting, it's the same thing, I did do a movie that I don't think is gonna come out. But it was fun and it was not easy, but it was easier than I thought because as
mm,
dancers, we're doing so hard. We're doing so hard. We're doing our best to uh, convince you of something without our words, So if I'm trying to tell you this is a ball in my hand, we are doing everything in our power to tell you like it's a ball.
hmm, hmm,
Um, but now we could use our words. So we're so used to using our body language and so in tune with our body language that,
hmm.
yeah, actors are like, yo, why, how are y'all so good? How do you guys know to use your face? And like, if someone like says something dumb to you, you're not like, what? You're more like, what? Like, because yeah, we have to do that. If I'm looking around, like pretending there's a fly around, but people don't know like it's a fly, I have to like, yeah. So
Mm,
that's for me personally, it's something that's like, dang, all right, it's in my curiosity. And that's my advice. My biggest advice is follow your curiosity because your
mm,
passion will go on and off. But for
mm,
you to keep creating is to follow your curiosity. And there's something you're always curious about, and it may be the weirdest thing. It could be about like plants, it could be about even cleaning your room, it could even be like, and that's still in my opinion uh
hmm,
an artistic expression.
mm,
So yeah, but I do see the big picture. I do want to include, like we always say, like dance theater, but I was just
mm,
like, why can't we just act? and dance. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like, to me, it just doesn't, because I think if we just kind of work on it, then yeah. And I think it will make things a bit more powerful to actually like stop the music and act out a scene. So like some of my like dreams is to even like act out my story, and relate to people. Like a big, very common one is like me tripping up in school when I was in high school, and and my mom had to give me that pep talk, like, yo, like you gotta get your stuff together, or one, like you're gonna move schools and miss your friends, and two, like you're not gonna dance anymore. So it's like, imagine, like, I just imagine reenacting that and making that an impact as a scene. And then after, when the scene is done, it gets back into the dancing. So it's like, I don't know why, it's so separate. And I think that dancers, like I said, they're already doing 70, maybe more percentage of the job of acting, which is body language,
Right.
and we just have to learn about tone and about all of that. So especially with Crump, we have to make characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for an answer, so it's like takeaway, it's like follow your curiosity. That helped me out so much, and helped me out so much with like my blockage as an artist, and then to wait for your passion. Yeah, because one story that I learned, it was like, or that I read in Big Magic, that's my favorite book about creativity. But it was a guy writer, he wasn't, yeah, he got a blockage, and then his daughter was like, hey dad, can you paint my bike? And he painted it as well as he could, stars and all that. And then he comes home, he's like, hey, my friend wants his bike, and boom, boom, boom. And then a whole line of the neighborhood kids, and then by the time he was done with that, his writing block was unblocked, but he was still being creative in the most weirdest way. That's why I said it is going to happen in the most weirdest way. And I go off of that story, because from a writer to a person painting the neighborhood kids' bikes with stars and hearts and whatnot, you're still using art as the therapy, but it's just not, is so lighthearted than the pressures of writing a book or creating the new dance move, or so yeah, that. And for me, it's making beats and acting. So
Nice. I will say that that's the second time I've heard this follow your curiosity, not your passion thing in the last 48 hours. Like, I think I heard it either in a video or on Instagram or something. So there's something to that. I think the universe is trying to tell me something.
Yes.
And also, yeah, guys, be on the lookout for these beats. Maybe an acting debut. The loops were already pretty great. I do have some of the beast loops, so you're already well on your way. Cool, bro. Thank you so much. I know the followers and the listeners out there are clapping behind their screens or into their headphones, whatever they're doing. If you guys want to hear more from Beast, I will drop all his information in the description for the video. So we'll link to like your Instagram and to the YouTube, any other content you think you want the people to have. And I do highly recommend also that everyone check out one of the Beast Camp's latest videos. It's on affirmations and poses in Crump, which is a very powerful thing. I think it's going to kind of shift the culture a little bit more. But there are also some really, really good gems in there just about life. So I encourage everybody to check that out. So Beast, man, thank you so much for your time today. We're like two different coasts right now. But I just appreciate you hopping on the call. And I will definitely let you know when all this stuff drops. And guys, yeah, go give Beast a follow. Go follow the Beast Camp. Go subscribe to them on YouTube. And we'll probably hear more from Beast in the future. I'll provide you guys updates to my platforms as things continue to grow. So Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Lots of gems in here. I do want to hit a couple before we go. Um, Firstly, community, knowledge, and love. Those are like three really important tenets for Beast and his program, but I think they're also really, really important tenets just for your life. So if you're thinking about community, if you're thinking about providing information or knowledge, if you're thinking about giving people love, you're probably on the right track. Um, Also remember, guys, to be authentic. Okay, you can't lose when you're being yourself, when you're doing things that call to you and that motivate you. um, Also be mindful of all the messages that we're receiving. Beast talked about being in a good environment as an activist at 11 or 12 years old, and that set him up for a lot of the other things that he's successful for. So be mindful of the environment that you're keeping, the people that you're keeping around you, and the messages you're receiving. And Follow that curiosity, friends. Don't get too caught up in passion, because the passion will come and it'll go and it'll change, but the curiosity will provide space and nuance and new ideas and access to things maybe you never would have known you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, Beast, thank you again, bro, for joining me today, and we'll do this again soon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Y'all tune in to next episode of the podcast.